at that moment because there is some kind of issue with the Windows 7 installations.
Yeah, I just hooked up with the guys downstairs, and then I talked straight with the team of Extreme Addict and Giorgio Primo, and then just asking them, because I saw them switching boards. Say, what's going on? And he said, we said, not possible, you already have like a dead board because you didn't put it like under LN2, you were just insulating it.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, we can't boot or seem to be able to boot properly in Windows 7. It blue screens, and apparently Slams gave them some tips for BIOS settings, and they made one successful post and then the reboot and it was blue screen again. So few other teams were having similar issues, and that's why Slams just announced in fact that there seems to be some kind of issue with Windows 7, so we'll do Windows 8 only.
Yeah, okay.
Well, but I don't know if everybody knows the policy about Windows 8 on HWBot.
Well, it's going to be like a few changes, right? So what is this going to imply for the competition, this change?
Maybe for the score output, not that much. Maybe Windows 8 is in some benchmarks is better in some benchmarks. But the thing is with Windows 8, if you change the B clock thing, sometimes weird stuff happens.
Okay.
So what Slam suggested or proposed, or in fact maybe ordered them to do.
I think it's the new rule.
It's the new rule. Yeah, it's not written down, but he mentioned it. So they have to boot at the same B clock they will be using for the benchmark.
Okay.
So if they boot at 125 B clock, there's no manual adjustment allowed, neither via software, neither via the OC panel that they have with the board. So they can only change multiplier via software.
Yep.
And they have to prove, indeed, after taking the screenshot, rebooting, that it was the
that
proper
the frequency is exactly what was on the screenshot.
What was announced on the screenshot, or what was shown on the screenshot. So
this is going to be a lot of time-consuming.
Yeah, and also that of course, you have to reboot all the time.
Yeah.
Which makes it harder on the judges as well, because normally they just watch the screenshot being taken.
Yeah. Write it down, take the USB.
Now they have to wait for the reboot, check CPU-Z again, and see that everything is properly set as it was during the benchmark. So it imposes a little bit extra pressure indeed on everybody. But it's good that they found already like this issue, and it's usually during live events. Yeah. That we have similar stuff going on. We had it at the Intel event as well.
Yeah, there's always you have to be prepared for
that. Anything. They didn't think about, okay, we're just going to give everybody one SSD. Yeah, okay, but what happens if it goes wrong?
Yeah, you need a backup SSD,
you have a
backup OS.
Same thing happened at the G-Skill boot as well at Computex.
Yeah.
Where one guy, Roman, their Bauer, had that SSD issues and he just couldn't even install the graphics card driver.
That's right,
So luckily they have seen backup SSDs, but apparently on all SSDs something is wrong with the Windows 7. Really bizarre, but okay, it's like that. So Windows 8 only. It's like it is.
Well, I have no problem with Windows 8 actually, besides that time machine thing. That is actually the reason why on HW, but Windows 8 is not allowed for submissions to begin with.
Yeah, I think it's only allowed if you use like the latest system info from FutureMark and stuff like that.
Yes, because it checks a different clock, right?
So
it's a problem with the clock on Windows 8, which makes it impossible to actually prove the time of the benchmark has been run, and the calculation then is a bit different. And so if you compare actually the time clock of the system, if you downclock, it goes slower.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird, right? It's not really.
It's doing bizarre stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But we have already one submission.
Which is a good thing.
Which is like an amazing 3,800 megahertz.
Yeah, so that submission is the very first submission of this competition.
Yeah, and in fact it's one of the strategies that the Team 1 is doing. Like, they had also the issues with Windows 7, so they put it straight in Windows 8. So we're not wasting any time on this. We're not changing board because everything looks like it's working properly. So it's not the board, it's something with the Windows. So they went straight to Windows 8, didn't waste any time, and they're binning CPUs at the moment.
Yeah.
So they have 2 CPUs. I asked around, and most of the teams just quickly put the CPU poll on it. Sorry. Didn't just thermal paste, no coolant inside, and just tried to boot like 4,500 megahertz. They didn't run any tests, just booting 4,500 megahertz and try to determine the lowest voltage required. Now there's one CPU that doesn't even make it at 1.4 V-core, which is like.
So there's there's some very good stuff and there's some bad stuff.
There are some lesser indeed, but we already heard via the organization. The overclockers don't know this, but apparently there has been bidding going on last week. We told that before. and the lesser CPUs were put on one tray and the other one on the other tray.
So since they had to pick a CPU
and they had to
from
pick a
each
CPU
tray,
from each tray, we got new scores coming in.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
So and there's only one team at the moment, the team with Wizardy. He didn't check the CPU, so
Yeah.
they mounted it completely.
So this goes back to the strategy thing we were talking before. Like I mentioned, for example, Wizardy actually in the MSI competition lately, it was the same thing. He didn't check his second CPU before the very, very, very end of the competition.
Yeah.
Like he just went straight to his first CPU and just started running the benchmarks. Just started tweaking the system and going with the first CPU. And it's a strategy. I mean, like you're not wasting time building.
You're not wasting time.
But you might pass.
Yeah,
you might pass
the
next
thing
to
is, like,
something good.
we all been like 5960X already, like on HW Bot and an Extreme System. There's always like a thread going on, which are the best batches and the best bins and what are you need to look for and stuff like that. And the thing we found the most easy to do was like, okay, just boot 4.5 at a vCore set in Windows and maybe try to run Cinebench. And now they just opted to run just booting into the Windows operating system. And sadly, one CPU doesn't even make it at 1.4 vCore, which is like really sad if you had to cash out 1,000 euros for that CPU.
Well, yes.
Okay, it runs the
It's
stock.
a sad news. You can still play games at stock.
You can. You still have all the cores available for all the stuff you wanted to do. But of course, if you buy such a CPU, that would be a huge disappointment.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
it's the way it goes. It's the silicon lottery, as we call it.
Yeah, that's the game, right? Talking about game, guys, we do give away today some cool stuff like we do every time when we have a live stream. Among the things we have today, so we have a few of the cool AOOC t-shirts that the guys are wearing right now. So those are exactly the same t-shirts. There is no nickname on those. In the back, because overclockers have all their nicknames. So we have, I think, 3 of those t-shirts. We have some OC-TV t-shirts as well. And we have also ASUS Strix GTX 980 to give away. So this is, to me, is what I will go for.
Yeah, of course, and just keep the t-shirts as a backup. But
yeah. So as you're going to see on the lower third, you can read, and there's the Facebook contest that is going on at on the Facebook OverClocking-TV page, and so you just go there, and from that page there's a tab you will see on the left side, the sidebar, and you just click on there and you can access the contest. The question for this one is how many AOOC competitions has there been so far, including the one of this year. So we mentioned the one from last year.
Yeah.
We mentioned another one. Did we mention one more? So is it 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I don't know. You just do the calculations, man. I'm not good at mathematics, so I don't care about that.
Yeah, you just got to be pay attention, and you will see that's it. For the t-shirts, we're gonna ask you a few questions about the competition a bit later on when we have a bit more submissions, because right now we actually have only maybe 4 submissions because the guys just started to submit.
People are just slowly cranking up.
So for now, only APAC and Roman have submitted scores, as well as Alex Rowe and Perika Barry.
So they're moving up. They're like pushing the envelope. So already like at a 60% overclock. Of course, this is something that some CPUs can do on air. You don't need liquid cooling for that.
That's right. All right, so talking about strategy, I think we should have a look at what the guys had planned and how they wanted to approach this competition day. We've prepared a little video about the strategy the guys had in mind for today's competition. So we asked them yesterday evening, the same guys you saw in the previous video, what's their plan, how are you going to do it, and what is basically your strategy. So let's have a look at this video.
We don't have any strategy. Maybe we talk about later in our room with Denkop, but yeah, I think of course the schedule is clear. First the 2D benchmark and then the 3D benchmarks, and I think we should test both CPUs, and during testing CPUs to prepare and modding the cards, and after that I think there are 5 hours for 3D Mark 11. It should be enough to test both cards, and yeah, I think that's the main strategy. And of course, the best strategy is to make the best scores.
Yeah, the strategy is to win. That's everything. So I'm quite fine with it when I win. But now, to be honest, it should be the goal to break some records, and not only on Saturday, maybe on Sunday also with more than one card. So we'll see what happens.
Our strategy, yeah, don't really have one, and we will see with the hardware, and we will improvise, I think.
I think, as always, we will try to make every benchmark one time with a low clock to be sure we have scored for every benchmark, and then we'll try to start to increase frequency and push voltage more and more until we kill the hardware or we have the maximum of the hardware. But to start, we will try to make every benchmark one time with low frequency.
We will try to insulate that, both cards and test it as quickly as we can. And I hope to have luck with a good CPU, because I think it's critical to have a good CPU. And I hope to have some luck.
Max CPU frag, Mad CPU frag, and we are ready to win. No troll.
Tomorrow the strategy, I think, really is Roman's expertise is obviously in the hardware modding, so he'll be doing the hardware modding while I'm doing the CPU binning, if you like, so we can pick out, and then I'll also then, when he's finished the hardware modding, I'll be doing the insulating, and then we'll try and bin the cards quickly on air, and maybe even run a couple of benchmarks on the CPUs on air, just so we pull out the right hardware that we're going to start with, and hopefully not waste too much time during the actual competition trying to figure out what's the best hardware to use.
The strategy mainly is to do the Cinebench first, test both CPUs, take the best CPU for 3D, and then just get the cards to run high clocks and keep the CPU actually low on clocks for 3D, and yeah, just see how it goes. It's always about luck, you know that, if you do a hardware lucky draw. So yeah.
So we'll try and pick quickly. When we've done that, also we'll try and get everything insulated and so on and so on. If we do hit problems, we can run a second rig or a second card fairly quickly without having to stop everything, warm up, change pots, change this, change that. So we'll try and keep our time management, as fast as possible.
All the benchmarks start at the same point, and then Cinebench closes quite quickly, and then there's a lot more time for the other benchmarks, which close 1 hour apart. So it's going to be the strategy of, I think, figuring out all of your safety scores and then trying to optimize for each of the benchmarks as they close. The problem is that the closing between the 3D benchmarks is only 1 hour. So if your setup is unstable in, let's say, the second 3D benchmark, and you still have to finish the last one, yeah, you're going to have to make sure that you have some good scores up front as well. So it's going to be strategic as well, I think. Yeah.
And we are back. So that was actually a very interesting discussions we had with the guy yesterday about how they are going to approach the competition and what's their plan for, some guys is like, oh, I'll go straight full in, I will just do that, or some other guys are a bit more reserved. You can see like guys such as APAC, like you could let them talk about hours about their strategy. I think APAC like could.
Yeah, he's a smooth talker.
I couldn't stop him during the interview. Like, I had to cut some pieces at the end because it was like, dude, you're gonna reveal everything.
Wrap it up, man. Just tell
me. We have a show to do here, right? It was some of the guys, that shows how passionate they are, and things like that. So, guys, we're going to have a small Q&A session. So if you have any questions about overclocking in general, or just the AOC competition, or what the guys are doing, technical questions or more general questions about how you guys can get started with OC, or if I've just, overclocking questions about your hardware or things like that, we can just pretty much, answer those questions. So just shoot it in the chat, And in a few minutes we'll come back to that and answer all those questions one by one. So just
if we're able to, Timothy.
So yeah, well we're doing our best.
We're not God Almighty, are we?
Yeah,
He's sitting behind us, God Almighty.
Yeah.
Massman is below.
So yeah, just shooting the question. Oh yes. Pizza, I actually no. This I cannot answer that question. well tried, but yeah, no. Try again.
Later.
With a different question.
Yeah. Just rephrase the question.
Yeah. Okay. So, alright. So we are now into the Cinebench. So this is now the serious stuff is going. That's the first benchmarking round for today's overclocking competition. Yep. Can you briefly explain to us what is Cinebench like as a benchmark? How does it work? What is the factors that are actually, I think, share also your knowledge of
this. My knowledge it might be limited, I don't know, because we had to bench Cinebench as well for the Pro AOOC Cup, and one of the fun things for the ASUS board for the Rampage 5 is in fact that it has like the encore thing, which you can go nuts on. Most boards are limited like around 3,500, 3,750 megahertz mark for the encore, and the encore in fact boosts all, let's say, the memory you can provide it. It boosts almost all scores, and it will be very important today as well in all the benchmarks that we're doing, because it gives a nice scaling. And I don't know the exact number of points that you gain when you raise the encore, let's say 125 megahertz, but usually it would be around 6 to 10 points, which can mean the difference between like top 5 or somewhere way below. Also, we have to mention, due to the, let's say, the change of the operating system, the guys have like 1 extra hour to complete the Cinebench run.
The Cinebench benchmark.
So there has been, normally preparation should have been done like in 1 hour and a half, but due to the issues with operating system, so the organization Slams decided, okay, we give the Cinebench till 14:30. That's one thing.
So is it going to add 1 hour to the whole competition, or is it going to?
No, they can submit Cinebench 1 hour longer.
So the competition still ends in about now it displays 2 hours, but it should be around 6 hours something for the end of the
otherwise I need to ask for a raise, because I'm going to talk and I need like a new tongue, I think, if I need to add 1 extra hour. Cinebench, back to Cinebench. So it's like a multi-threaded CPU benchmark.
Yep.
So it uses all the 8 or 16 hyper-threaded cores of the 5960X. Quite rough benchmark. And it can be tweaked. Like I said already, the Encore, it loves also memory bandwidth, so the memory has to be dialed in as well.
Yeah.
So it's not as dependent as XTU, which also scaled a lot with memory bandwidth and timings, but every little bit helps, and that's why I was like pleasantly surprised that they stepped away from SuperPi and all that stuff.
It's more visual as well. I mean, like Cinebench is seriously
indeed,
more
with
interesting.
32M, you just see the loops, you see the numbers, and it's like people are like, what?
Even then, imagine people walking by, right, in an OC competition like this, where you have a bit of public, and I mean, like, you look at it. If you look at SuperPi, where there's obviously nothing you can see from 2 meters away, you can probably not even see the numbers.
Now I have to tell you, Timothy, Cinebench can be boring as well.
Yes,
because there's like one tweak, and it's called real time, and if you activate that, it just gives like the small opening screen, and it looks like the benchmark froze.
Yep.
So even your system, you can move your mouse,
so you don't see anything,
but you don't see the mouse pointer moving. You think your system has completely locked up, but just give it time, just watch temps, and you see that the temperature will drop. So the CPU is really stressed, and that usually gives like a 5 to 10 point boost. So I'm giving away like, the thing that I use for the Pro AOOC, but usually most overclockers know it.
Yeah, it's not like a secret,
it's
secret
not like
knowledge.
a super secret tweak that you can use, but the real-time thing really helps. And of course, if you just let it run, and we will maybe look behind us a few minutes later during another break what is going on again. But if you see people just like running normal, so you have the buildup of the tiles, which the processor has to render, then they're not using the real-time tweak.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they didn't know about it. That's their thing, but that's
or
all part
maybe
of it.
they're actually not yet finalizing their highest
of course.
score,
If you just see the scores now.
Because if we are talking about 10 points more, that's something you can do when you're totally maxed out and there's nothing else you can do, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course, it's something that, and at a certain moment they will hit like a frequency wall.
Yeah.
And then it will be difficult. Do we pump more voltage? Can we go colder on the CPU? And at a certain moment, yeah, it will all stop. And then you have to tweak with the encore memory timings just to maybe get that little
extra
futile 1 point, which might seem like totally useless, but if it's the difference between maybe 30 points or 28 points in the ranking,
totally worth it to take.
It could be the difference between winning the 5K prize or going home empty-handed. It's like that. You always, that's the fun thing of overclocking, and especially during these live events, you have to give it the max. If you're at home and you're benching with your own hardware, the hardware that you worked hard for, maybe sold your kids for it or your kidneys, whatever it is. But hey, I'm like more the chill guy. If I try 3 or 4 attempts.
Are you not into the kidney selling business?
No, not yet. I only have 1 left. So, so the thing is like, yeah, you have to make a judgment. Can I do it? Do I push it? Do I push more volts? Do I try more cold? Does it work? And I usually stop like 3rd or 4th attempt. It ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Maybe the mount wasn't good, so I'm more like the let's say more careful overclocker. But the thing is with Cinebench, it will be fun, and I'm really expecting that if they have good CPUs, which is still like an open question, because I also asked, are you guys? Did you bin between the 2 processors? Some teams did, and we had one like a very unlucky team with Alex Rowe and Pirikabari, which had a CPU which couldn't even post into Windows 8 at 4.5 gigahertz, 1.4 vCore. So that's like a CPU in the binning thread at HWBot was like a CPU when don't buy this.
So yeah, those binning thread, the way it works is people write down what they got at best, or like what is the, and then they also write down the batch number, right?
Yeah.
So the more people say, well, this batch is bad, the less people actually buy this batch. And you have a lot of overclockers that actually wait a little bit, see what are the good batches,
and try to
then go to the shops and actually try to
just annoy
it's really
guy.
funny, right? Yeah. Oh, do you have this specific batch, please? Is it 8868 at the end, or it makes a big difference, right?
It can make a big difference indeed, but it's like we call it the silicon lottery. Yeah. You can buy 10 CPUs of the same batch. You can have 2 that excel, and the other ones are just average.
Yeah.
But it just depends on. We have found certain batch with Haswell. Haswell E is like maybe too new as well, but there were some batches that were like, okay, you better avoid these because these are like a total waste of money if you want to do extreme overclocking. It all depends. For daily use, it's not that important.
Yeah.
But if you want to go like the things that we're looking for, in fact, with liquid nitrogen is processors that scale with more voltage and lower temperature. I had like an early sample from Intel, which had like a working temperature range for a cold bug of minus like 95 and a cold boot bug of minus 80. So I only had like 15 degrees to work in. If I could like go way colder on that CPU, I could have maybe reached higher frequencies, but it's like it.
That's life, right?
We're seeing like a lot of negative coming in for Windows 8.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like Flanker is saying, well, it's true. Money, like...
I'll put the headset on.
Like, put your headset on. Your mustache is doing some weird stuff.
You have to speak up louder, otherwise.
Yeah, I have to speak louder because he's getting old.
He's getting old. My ears are decaying.
So yeah, it's true. If you had to buy those 2 CPUs the guys got, well, you would be. I mean, anyone would actually be really pissed off.
Yeah, and it's also, of course, the lottery that you're having.
Yep.
You draw the ticket and you get like 3rd or 4th pick maybe from the 2 trays. There were like 2 trays of CPUs. And you have to pick one CPU.
You bought the 2
from
wrong
each tray.
tickets.
So it's all a bit about luck, of course. Of course, you have double the chance.
Yeah.
And apparently there was one better tray than the other one. So they have like 1 CPU of the good tray and 1 CPU of the lesser tray. So it's for everybody the same. But
that's correct.
Only one team that we saw, and I already mentioned it, Wizardy, just plugged in the CPU, put on the pot, insulated everything, and they're working at the moment with that CPU. So I hope for him it's a good choice. And you told it, he did it at the MOA and it worked out fine. So maybe the same here.
Yeah. So let's have a look around each of the teams that are competing. So as you can see right now, those are the 8 teams competing. Those guys are all teamed up together, and it has been teamed up through a qualification process. So let's move to the team number 1, the team from APAC and their Bauer.
Yeah.
So those guys are really used to bench together. They are now colleagues working in the same company.
Indeed.
And so for now they haven't submitted much because we just pretty much started the submission process for Cinebench, and they submitted 1 score. Like we were saying before, this is like that was their placeholder score. I would say it was a very easy, cheesy 3,800 megahertz submission.
I think it was one of the scores they did to
see if the CPU was working,
maybe the
or
CPUs, and just see if the memory all had, like, if you had your quad channel working and stuff like that.
Maybe testing the LN2 pod, is it working? Can I cool it down?
Yeah, I think Roman knows his spot, so it's
so I mean, like, usually LN2 pods are pretty straightforward. You don't need that complicated manual to use it.
We're seeing like 5 gigahertz scores already coming through.
So it's starting to show up the scores. So we'll go through the scores as we go through the
teams.
each teams. So moving on to the next team number 2 of Dan Cup and Bench Bros.
Yeah.
So those guys for now have not submitted any score. We don't really know what they are up to.
In fact, Bench Bros
they were still modding.
They were still modding the card.
Yes.
So they're probably applying the same voltage modifications in the same way that they did during the weekend.
Yeah.
So and I know Bench Bros Andy Box work. It's like, wow.
He's precise, right?
He's
like he had like the big magnifying glass and like really
it's like
stuff.
The real stuff. It's not like something with hot glue on it, just route the cable and we're done. No, he does it like it has to last, and I can understand it, and that's probably maybe one of the reasons that they waited a bit, but they got their first score sipping through now at 4.8.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
So
not anything extreme. 1,931 points.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we can see like 5,500 scores, 5.5 gigahertz. That would be like decent, and then we can see indeed how well these guys master the efficiency on the platform, the memory timings.
It's a step-by-step ramping up process, right?
Yeah, of course they have to just.
It's just gonna be like like a step-by-step. In the Bench Pros right now, this means it's like a 60% overclock, like
which is already quite nice, but
it's
we know
it's not going to be extreme enough.
It has
to
way
make
more
it,
potential. It has way more
that's
potential.
That's correct. So let's move on to the team number 3. So that's the team of Wizardty and Terra Raptor.
Yeah.
So those guys, they started submitting a few things, right? Their last submission is a 5,000 megahertz submission, and it's accounted for 1,975 points.
Yeah.
So if we look at that scores, that's already a little bit more than what we saw at the Dan Cup stable with 60%. We are 66.67% OC on the CPU. Of course, at this time of the competition, there's not going to be any LN2 on the graphics card.
Yep.
Most of guys have 2 graphics cards, right? So what most team did is they modded 1 card, or are in the process of modding 1 card,
and
the other one is running on air.
That's also a thing that we see in the team. Like one guy is fully occupied.
Yes.
With the GPUs, and one is like dialing in the motherboard, setting the memory frequencies, and just verifying indeed how high can we go and what timings can we do it at.
Yeah, so you can see the guys right now on the screen actually. So you
like
can see Wizardty on the left and behind him Terra Raptor. So you can see the guys are probably discussing, okay, what is the next step now? Since they did their submission, what is going to be the next week? You can see also the ASUS judge, which is there to actually probably check the scores and make sure everything is according to what's supposed to be. So I guess the guys are now going to keep on tweaking and checking things. Actually no, it's Matros that is there, probably talking to his French competitor mate.
Yeah.
Probably, hopefully not sharing tricks, but probably helping them out figure out some troubleshooting or things like this.
Yeah, probably.
That's actually the thing, right? In OC competitions, it's a competition, but people still move around sometimes and just give some tips and tricks to the other guys. It's a fair thing, right?
It's a fair thing. So you also have to think, if the other guys have like a better CPU, it's like that.
So yeah, still 2 hours, 1 hour and 1 hour and how many minutes? What? 2 hours, 1 hour something. Yeah.
Just replying to the guys on the Twitch channel. So Cinebench guys, they have like an extra hour to perform submission. So add 1 hour to the normal schedule.
Yeah.
So just due to the issues during the preparation, the initial setup with the Windows 7, Slams allowed 1 hour extra submission time.
So yeah, there's still 2 good hours of Cinebench.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Moving out to team number 4. So team number 4, Perika Barry and Alex at Pro. So those guys did submitted some scores as well. Actually, they were the second team to submit scores. Their first score was like a tiny 4,500 megahertz submissions at 1801. Well, that was nothing, but they just started scaling up. If you see their submissions, another one at 4,500, but which actually I think this one is a bug because it's twice the same one. Then we have another one which is slightly higher to like 300 megahertz more. And then it keeps on going up, and I think the latest submission now is 5,200 megahertz. I mean, yeah, it's nothing that bad. So you're opening the screenshot now,
just to see if I can get like
if you can find out something about that. So this submission is
so you see that they're not like really hard or going hardcore on the memory at the moment. So still at a 2066 megahertz speed. So in fact, below the stock rated speed, because I think they all had like 2,800 CAS 16 kits.
Yeah.
But they opted to go like with tighter timing set. So CAS 14, 15, 15, 15, 270 TRFC and 1 T command rate, of course. But you see, one of the advantages of the ASUS board now is that they can straight go for the uncore frequency or the Northbridge frequency I talked about before, and they're already at like 4,500 megahertz, which is like a solid average for most processors. But usually, if you have a good one, you can maybe go even closer to the 5 gigahertz range there.
That's correct.
And that is like really boosting the score. So we'll see if they can dial it in, or maybe they just want to settle, do a Cinebench score, and then just maybe look for the max frequency, and then later on dial in more. I got no. No idea what their strategy or during the benching what will go on.
Yeah. So guys, if you want also to follow the competition like we do and see how the scores are actually going and being submitted as we go, the best way is to actually go on the OC Esports site, where you can find the actual submission tracker for the competition. So I'm gonna share to you the link on the chat. So ocesports.io/#/round/AOC2014 final/submissions, and over there you can find all the submissions. It's automatically updated as they are added, so you will actually probably see the submissions at the exact same time we are talking about it, and in there you can expand the different things, and you can see how many percentage OC the score is about. You can see if the graphics card is overclocked or not. The graphics card they're using, of course, Rampage 5, and then you can actually open the screenshot and have more details on what this submission is about. And this is something really important for to be able to follow overclocking actually as a sport and as a competition, is to be able to see exactly what's going on and being able to know what were the settings the guys used, what base clock frequency, what a multiplier they're running out of, how. You can learn from the screenshots. You can learn pretty much a lot of things, right?
Now we get like one comment from Mr. Christian Ney.
Oh yeah, hello Christian, how are you doing?
How are you doing, man? Too bad you aren't here, but yeah, maybe Massman is a bit slow.
Yeah, that's true. He was talking about having he really needed help today, and I think he almost recruited Adeline, which is working at ASUS, to help him out submitting scores in case it gets a bit rushy. For now it's fine.
If they really have to do all the inputs, all the GPU clocks, the timings, it takes some time.
This actually we have to give credit to the Steinbach team for putting off the job of adding all the screenshots in there, checking the screenshots, of course. That's a big part of the job.
Because that was something that happened before, that we just saw the score, but we had no idea on frequencies. And I know that Truthman was at a certain moment during a certain MOA or something, running around, asking the competitors from where are you guys at now, what frequencies, and now with the new system, the new esports website, things change, but it takes a lot of manual input, so give them time, guys.
All right, let's move on to the next team. So since we're talking about the team number 5, so those are our Greek friends, Modest Boy and Firekiller GR. So those guys for now are, well, I haven't seen any. Oh yes, now there is actually just right now their first submission. It's a 4,500 megahertz submission, 1,779. It's nothing that impressive if you compare actually to other submissions by other guys. It's actually lower than the
Lower,
very
it smokes.
first emissions by Perry. So it
Yeah.
means their efficiency is nowhere near. Well, it's I mean, like it's 20 something points, right? 20.
Yeah,
20.
indeed, but it's a huge gap.
You're not there. You're not
You're
really
not
not
there
there,
yet.
and there's
Yeah.
still a lot of work to do on the efficiency of your system. So it's a lot of memory tweaking that is going to be involved. To
Yeah, they
resolve
really
that
need
kind
to
of
be
issue.
able to, let's say, push the Corsair memory up to 3000 megahertz, probably, preferably, let's say, CAS12.
Yeah.
So push the timings, go high with the Encore, and hopefully as well with the CPU speed. So, it
So
all
yeah,
follows
if we look at the screenshots, for instance here,
you see that the memory frequency is low. The Encore is at 4 gigahertz, so okay.
yeah, they're running like multiplied 36, 125 bus speed. Yeah, it's like
And that's also the thing with DDR4. You have so many memory ICs or many different variants.
you have to a lot of testing. It's
Yeah.
experience of the different ICs and
And
kits.
these ones are single-sided Hynix, so I know they can do the clocks, but you need to really dial in. And the issue is, the main issue that I had on the board is that you can't dial everything directly in. But usually it doesn't boot. You have to sometimes go slower,
That's
step by
right.
step.
Yeah, so the Greek guys for now, I guess they're gonna have to work on their system a bit more.
Yeah.
I suppose they were among the ones that had issues with the Windows 7 problem that we were talking
I
earlier.
think
so I
they
suppose
maybe just
they submitted. No, they
went
haven't.
for like a solid choice of CPU,
Yeah.
because they were like, when I did the question round downstairs, they were like still deciding.
Yeah, so
which
they
one-
had been
which
both,
one
but they
we
were
do,
not.
and I just saw their setup passing by.
Yeah.
So it's still not fully insulated. So
Yeah.
they have still not have fully mounted it. So they're just probably checking rapidly.
Yeah.
You see Firekiller just doing
Just
the
restart,
controls.
yeah.
And just checking indeed, because they,
And,
they
and
haven't
actually, if you
secured-
look, the LN2 pond is just put on
Yeah,
top of.
they're
It's
just-
not
I think they're
mounted
just-
properly, right?
and they're going
So
to heat up.
heating
So
up,
I
probably
think they're going
change CPU.
swap
yeah.
CPU now.
So I think this is, you see, that's the case of the very first hour of the competition, where people are still not too sure on which feet they should dance and what CPU they should actually take to make sure they can, get the best out of the
Yeah.
system. And here we are using, they're using torches to heat up the pot.
Yeah.
So the pots are frozen, right? It's like we are using liquid nitrogen, so we are minus 180 something.
Yeah.
So the
They
pots
probably
are frozen
didn't go
and
that
it
cold
sticks.
right now,
Yeah.
but
So they reheat it up before unmounting it to make sure they don't rip off anything at the processor, because the thermal paste is frozen as well. So
now you see that they're like cleaning up.
yeah, so cleaning up the CPU, and you will see
They're
they're
probably
going
going to swap it and
open
just
up.
put in the other one, and hopefully that one is better.
Yeah.
Because of course that's the big question. Which
Actually,
one is the better one?
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe they're going for the final mount, because
Well,
it
it's
seems they're
actually
not.
it's looking like they're going to add some new thermal
Yeah.
paste. So it's probably, yes, they're going to either go for the mount,
So
or
Lichov,
maybe they
shut
had
up,
a
you were
very
wrong.
very bad mount to begin with.
Yeah. So now we can see the Greek technique of
Yeah,
applying
so,
thermal paste.
so thermal paste is actually a very secretive technique, transmitted from generations to generations, from uncle to grandpa to grandmother. It's something like this. It's thermal paste technique. Like I haven't learned anything like this for now. Like me, I put it in every corner. Like I don't know,
I'm just
you don't
using
do the
usually
number
the
5
line, the
yeah?
line thing.
Oh, you do the line
and
thing?
I just compress it, swivel it a bit around, and then
Yeah, yeah.
secure it. And usually it's okay.
So everybody has a different technique, I suppose.
Yeah, everybody also has its own thermal grease that they prefer.
Yes,
I
sure.
think
So among the famous brands where we have, so there's Gelid Extreme, then the different cooling brands that are actually doing their own in-house branding. For example, Cooler Master or Arctic, they have the different.
Yeah, there's like
different
an interesting thread. I think one was started by Der Bauer,
Yeah.
who tested like 25 different
brands,
thermal
yeah.
pastes, and then there's also, was it Barebone?
Yeah.
That also did like a new test.
Yeah,
or like an updated test with X99. I'm
Yeah,
not
because for
100%
sure, thermal
sure.
pasted recipes are changing as the time evolves.
Yeah,
right?
of
So
course.
you need to
Of
retest the new
course.
batches
And that's some things that we heard as well, that some manufacturers which are highly acclaimed right now might change their manufacturing process and might change, like say, the ingredients.
Well,
But
yeah,
that could have like a totally different
the
outcome for
concentration
us.
is in any
So
materials.
at
they
the
put
moment,
in
I
there.
think most of them will be using the Gelid Extreme.
Yeah, that's what most. It's kind of like a choice of brand you go for when you're going to go extreme, and especially on the LN2, because the point of having thermal paste that actually can stand those temperatures to make sure that the contact and the conductivity of the thermal
But
interface with the
even
CPU
with the
to
Gelid
the pot
Extreme,
is,
we have experienced when
Yeah.
we were benching X99 that at a certain mode we lost like 100, 200
So
megahertz.
this is because the paste starts to freeze, and then
Yeah, and it could crack, and then sometimes we had to warm up to even positive temperatures again, cool it down, and then it was like normal again.
yeah, because it dries up with
I'm
the
not
frost.
100% sure if it was the gelatin or soldering or something inside the CPU.
It can be anything. Maybe it's your Belgium technique, man. Huh?
Or maybe the lack of technique, that can also be the thing.
Yeah, it can be a lot of different things, you know. So you see, the guys now are actually mounting the pod properly, so they are screwing up the top part, which is actually
they're
squeezing
satisfied
down
with
the pod to the motherboard. So that might be actually their best CPU right now, right? If we actually look, they did another submissions in between. We were talking about them. So now it's a 4748 megahertz submission, and this one is a 1879, right?
Yeah.
So it's I mean it's really
It's moving up.
That's the CPU they have.
And the scores we want to see is like 2200 plus. Those are the scores we are expecting to see at least today.
That's it. So yeah, very, I would say not weak, but it's a
start.
It's a start, but it's nothing that is going to be competitive at this point in the competition.
Yeah, there's always like the discussion about the early samples which are available, which are better than the retails. But we have seen like with almost every processor generation, I think just besides Golftown in the beginning, that usually the ES were like way better. But eventually the retails catch up.
So when we say ES, we mean engineering samples.
Engineering sample, like, yeah, from
we might use our abbreviations. So just add it on ask it on the chat. Talking about chat, Lucy Music answering your question about if they're going to bench the ASUS Strix as well. Yes, they will. Right now, this is the Cinebench, so it's only 2D. So that's why you see all the graphics card just on air with the actual.
Or they're just using like a small.
Just a small,
non-significant 3D card.
Yeah, nothing special.
Just to give it a screen.
Yeah, and so they will actually bench the 980 Strix, and they will be on LN2, and that's not going to be before 2 hours or so from now, unless some guys start benching 3D before. But I don't think we will see that much really in the next hour.
Yeah, we also see the comment from I don't know how to pronounce it, ANTDX316.
Yeah.
So guys, really don't worry. Okay, we're using liquid nitrogen. We're using like massive voltages compared to air clocks, but don't worry about CPUs degrading. We have hardly seen it, and we see it with each process generation. There's like a discussion topic about degradation issues.
It's very. Well, I mean, I've seen degradation on some CPUs.
Yeah, it exists, but okay, you have to.
It's not something super all the time.
It's not like they go down 300, 400 megahertz. Some CPUs go down, but you also have to think like we're pushing to the extreme sometimes.
And especially, do you see degradation in the extreme level of things? If you clock down to stock, well, you're not going to notice probably anything.
They work perfectly fine. The only thing that we have seen now at the moment, I think, was Sergey from Ukraine. I think he killed the internal memory controller.
Yeah.
So those things need, because we're pumping so much voltage in that, pushing the memory frequency, tight timings, indeed, sometimes it can go wrong. But overall, if you like overclock for daily use, and you're setting like 4.5 gigahertz, don't worry about it, man. If it just is properly cooled, the temperature range is okay, you're in the green zone, nothing happens.
Nothing to worry about. Flanker asked what CPUs are they using. So it's so the CPUs the guys are using are not their own CPUs. It's CPUs that ASUS got for the competition. Those CPUs, if I'm correct, are all retail chips.
All retail.
So those are the same chips you can actually buy in a shop. So they're probably they're box CPUs, I would say in that case, probably.
It could be, that are also tray ones, but they only have like the 1 year warranty.
So yeah, they all have been binned, and like we were discussing before, ASUS prepared 2 trays. One was so there was one good side and one bad side, and every team had to take one CPU out of each.
Yeah.
So there's to make it as fair as possible, that no team gets 2 bad CPU or 2 among the worst.
Yeah.
So it makes it very, I think, fair enough for everybody to get
I think this is a good way of doing it. Okay, maybe we will not see any world records today because the initial voltages that we're like hearing from the overclockers are not that promising.
Yeah.
We have seen way better on the forum, but okay, the playing field is leveled. And if everybody can only do like 5.5, so be it. But then the tweaking, and of course, how far can they push memory, GPU, and tweak the operating system and drivers? So
And as a reminder, the chips we are using today is a Core i7 5960X. So those are CPUs for your X99 motherboards.
Yeah, in fact, it's the first octa-core Intel desktop processor. So we have known the Xeons for the server market, but this is like
the very first
official,
time we have
official 8-core from Intel for the daily user, let's say.
So while for the less fortunate of the professionals, it might be actually a very good choice of platforms, and even for like people that are really into the need of performance. Or
in the beginning, I was like, I'm honest, quite skeptical, because we heard like most of the big guys here behind it, they had like 6.2 4930Ks. So the Sandy Bridge E, Ivy Bridge E, sorry, my mistake. And they were like, okay, if we have to compete with them and we can only reach like maybe 5,600 megahertz on the new Haswell E, do the 2 extra cores make up? And apparently they do. In Vantage, all records are broken, even with cards, with CPUs just on single phase. So just running 5.2, and they're beating like the scores of the 6 gigahertz previous generation processors.
There's a big improvement.
There's a big improvement in the things we use them for, in fact.
Okay, let's move on to the next team. Team number 6, Smoke and 12. So those guys are the Russian guys, and for now we haven't seen that much results.
They have like
they submitted a long time ago already, so it wasn't. There's nothing to say about this guy.
There's not much to say, but it was at that moment already like a pretty good efficient score.
For that level, like among the submissions we had back then, right? It was like pretty okay. Right now we don't really know where they are standing. I suppose they either kept on going with that chip or actually just swapped chips.
I'm just looking behind me and I see like...
It was a 43.
Oh, they're like ghosting again, so they have like Windows issues at the moment.
It seems, well
I see
Windows
they're like redoing the partitions. So probably they already corrupted the SSD or something, so they're trying...
well, corruption of SSD, well, it happens, right? It's just that that's the danger of sometimes rebooting a bit too hardcore or crashing a bit too often. You know, the stuff goes wrong in the Windows things, and then that's why there's actually backup SSDs anyway.
Indeed, and it doesn't need always like go fully corrupt. We have seen it a lot of time, especially when you bench like 2D, that at a certain moment the performance is like gone, and you can't explain it because it like the frequencies are all the same, the tweaks you apply and just before running SuperPy 33M are the same, but you're just losing seconds. And then it's indeed better just to do like a clean install, or like most of us do, and we just install the system and set it up, take a ghost image, and if it goes wrong, you just put it back, and it takes only like 1 or 2 minutes max.
So welcome to the newcomers on the stream, and I can see that we've got some visit from our officials.
From the officials?
We're talking about the scores, so the Russian guys, I guess now we just have to see them going. We're talking about the officials, talking about Slams that we could see on the stream sitting next to his compatriot. And so right now we just have to wait to see if we can get some more scores from those guys. Let's move on to the team that actually submitted last, team number 7, which is Extreme Addict and Giorgio Primo. So those guys, the most atypical team, I would say, in this whole competition. For me, it's the most atypical team.
It's a perfect marriage. It's the love-hate thing. You have the silent, quiet guy that likes to listen, and you have the guy that always is talking, shouting, and can't sit still for like 1 moment. I have the same issue with my hands, but Michael has it with his entire body, and it's like a really cool guy to watch how he overclocks, and you can just see him like dancing, moving around. Look, he's like having fun. Now looking for the final score, and just checking maybe if it's enough for validation. So
actually we lost his teammate already. Maybe he's just getting LN2, I don't know.
Or maybe a cup of coffee, I don't know.
So you can see actually the way Extreme Addict is benching is really fast. Like his movements are really like very, very, very.
That was also one of the things, let's say, that I noticed when I first benched with Massman. Is like the keyboard inputs he did for the BIOS were like, I couldn't follow. I didn't even know after the 3rd or 4th thing that he changed what did he set? It was like a competition to get the first boot. It was like, what? But indeed you get like more acquainted. Now with the new BIOSes, of course, it's more mouse click and it changed a bit. But those guys have like the magic with their fingers, and they can do it like
Well,
fast.
it's exactly the way if you are playing a game, right? Is how many actions per second you could do, right? And that's sometimes in overclocking and those extreme moments where you need to go fast and be precise, not make mistakes with your finger typing the wrong thing and things like that.
Just talking about the keyboard, the Greek guys complained because they couldn't do like multiple inputs.
Oh yeah.
So they also had probably some finger technique just to quickly put it in. Yeah. We just see 8-pack now prepping the GPU.
Okay.
So they're like the liquid tape. Liquid guys. So they have. Oh no, it's not.
It's
Giorgio Primo doing the same.
Yeah. It's still a very typical team.
Maybe I am embarrassed.
So I actually really like the bench table they're using. Is the
Dimastec bench table. So they're using like I think it's from Giorgio Primo itself.
Yeah,
he's
brought
like
his table over
proper
here.
setup, not like just put it on the armor flex or the neoprene, just something solid. We can securely mount the video card. Nothing can fall over.
Most of the guys, the fans, for example, so the fans they put here on top are basically to not have the smoke in your face to begin with.
Indeed.
And also to make sure that it doesn't stay around and condenses even more on the top of the pot or anywhere around. Too much smoke, too much cold going down the board is always more risk of condensation. So you just want to blow it away as fast as possible.
The interesting part, we have the cameraman moving around and you see the Corsair PSU lying around. And they mounted a fan against the Corsair PSU.
So an extra fan. That is because more and more PSUs are eco-friendly, right?
Yeah, and they don't spin up.
To save
till it's too
4
late.
or 5 watts or a bit more, right? European regulation, all that stuff. So to get those like logos sometimes on the box and things like that, well, you have to make your PSUs as efficient as possible. But in that case, the PSU doesn't heat so much anymore, so the fan doesn't rotate anymore. And the problem is like those guys, they're going really hard on those PSU, and by the time the PSU sometimes reacts, well, it might just be a little bit too late.
A little bit too late.
And you're never sure if the PSU is working if the fan doesn't rotate, right? You want to make sure it's actually running.
The massive Vaseline technique by Giorgio Primo now doing.
Yeah, well, you see, that's probably the Italian way of insulating.
Yeah, but I think
every country has its technique.
Extreme Addict indeed is similar, and I know that Tapaka is also the guy. He says Vaseline for the win. I don't care about liquid tape. It's crap to remove. Indeed, it is.
It is not easy to remove, yes.
Vaseline is like some people just put their components in the dishwasher.
Last time I actually
and it works. Yeah. It works. And okay, maybe the stickers peel off or something, but the board is like brand new.
Yeah.
And it's like no issue.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So the guys actually made one more submission since we are
the Germans are going for it.
So that's 5,300 megahertz submissions. It's 2,100 points actually. And if you look, talking about efficiency, if we compare to the latest submissions the Dan Cup bench pro guys did, which is exactly the same CPU frequency actually, but hey, there's almost like 11 points extra, right?
Yeah, but those are the little extra points.
So those were maybe those 10 magic points you were talking about before, right?
It could be like the encore they're pushing is like way higher than what Michael and
yeah.
Which one are you opening? You're opening?
I'm opening the Dan Cup one.
Okay, I'll try the other one then.
Yeah, so Dan Cup, those guys, they're running, like 5306 megahertz. And oh yeah, my cable is getting stuck in my chair. Sorry if it's making a bit of sound. So it should be better like this. Let you go ahead with your submission.
Yeah, see now the biggest difference between the two submissions, in fact, is like the encore speed. So memory is for all the same. Okay, one team. So Michael and Giorgio Primo went a bit tighter on the timings.
Yeah, a little bit tighter. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't always pay off. But they have like 300 megahertz more on the encore.
Yeah.
And that could just explain this.
That difference in score,
right?
Right?
Then there's still, of course, the real-time tweak. I don't know if one of the two teams or maybe both applied it already.
Yeah.
But there's still more to gain, maybe.
Yeah.
But if they just crank up the encore or the like it's shown in CPU-Z, Nord-based frequency,
yes,
it could be that at the same processor speed, they're just going over the other guys. It all depends on how the setup is set. But I'm like, till now surprised that I don't see like higher memory frequencies going on at the moment.
I don't know. Maybe the guys are still trying to figure other stuff out before moving on to memory, right?
And it's like we said, it's like a overclocking game, but it's also like a debugging game. Because you have the same hardware at home,
Yes.
doesn't mean you can do the same here.
Well,
You want to,
you
if you had
want
like
to,
good
you know
scores.
what you can do at home, but things not always turn out how you want it to be, right? So, yeah, that's the thing. Moving on now to our last team, which is team number 8. So that's the team of John White from Kazakhstan and Matt Rose from France.
Yeah.
So Matt Rose is actually a guy that we haven't seen yet in big competition so far.
Yeah.
So for him, I think it's his first major competition.
Yeah,
live,
indeed.
live
And
OC
it's like I
competition.
said, he entered via the Pentium stage, so the Pentium qualifying round. But he did quite well. So, yeah, I really hope that these guys can get like a good score or good CPU running and set some nice scores to compete with, let's say, the big guys out there, the more renowned guys, as we call them.
Yeah.
And that will motivate these guys as well. Okay, John White has been doing a lot of stuff, but more with legacy hardware. And he told me that he was like, okay, he never worked with the ASUS board before, and he said like, it's BIOS setup is different, the layout. I need to get acquainted how to do the inputs and stuff like that. But they're like
So
at
you
the moment
can see the
fighting
guys
with
right
the
now
operating
actually
system
on the screen, right?
Yeah, there's.
So they're benching together. I mean, if we look, for example, that what we were seeing at the Extreme Addict and Giorgio Primo team, and also what we saw at Bench Bros, for example, those guys are splitting up the work, and there's one modder that is preparing for 3D, and the other guy is already doing all the benching on Cinebench, right? While here, obviously, both guys are actually working together.
Yeah, just to get acquainted with.
So either they got really fast at modding the card and everything is ready for 3D already, so there's nothing else to do on it. Just wait and do Cinebench first.
I think everybody. I think
that's
that also that's a good thing that you can do. Like maybe Cinebench first. You have an idea what the CPU can do. If you're running like 3D in the beginning, or either you run low GPU frequencies and just push the CPU to see how you can boost the physics score and stuff like that.
That's right.
Or you just crank it up and just see what happens. But if it crashes, do you have a clue if it's straight the GPU? Is it the CPU? What is going on? So it's a good thing that everybody has got like the Cinebench going on. But I hope we can see like a bigger score soon.
Yeah, well, for now we have no submission from that team, so we don't really know what's the status on the on
we will
color
have a check
frequency, memory
soon during the
timings.
next break.
We have no clue yet, so we're gonna have to do exactly like you at home and just wait a little bit more. There's still 1 hour and 38 minutes in this Cinebench round. Remember at the same time, overclockers are actually allowed to compete on 3D. There's all the benchmarks are starting at exactly the same time. So
but I think everybody is like looking at the scoreboard.
Yeah,
they're
probably it's fine to just stay on 2D for
And the
now.
thing is, for us, it's interesting, but they don't see like the scores, the CPU speeds that the other guys are
we
running.
have access to. Well, they might just look on their phone, but it's really complicated to open.
I don't think they will lose that much time to do so. So they have just guess what the CPU frequencies the other guys are running at. So
yeah. So like right now, like I mean, the leaderboard is like like for now the Dyn Cup in the Bench Pros team is leading. The Extreme Addict and Giorgio Primo are second. Alex Rowe, Perica Barry are third, which is actually quite okay because we were talking about the CPU and not being too lucky. But for now, it seems to be alright, right? And then Wizard T, Terroraptor are fourth, 5 Kilo, Morris Boy fifth, Smoke and 12 are sixth. And then 8 Pack the bar for them seventh, but I'm supposing knowing the guys that they're going to take their time. Now they have one score, so it's a bit better than nothing. They with this one score they actually secure always 18 points. It's not much, it's not enough to probably be competitive and win or grasp those extra points, but you know what, it's a safe thing for now, and I'm pretty sure they're working on a much better score anyway, so it's a matter of time now.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so right now on the screen, so you can see the teams. So those are the 8 teams competing. I don't know, guys. Can you tell us what do you think? Who is going to win? Which team is looking the strongest on the paper, and which is looking the strongest right now in the submissions? I have my personal favorite. I can tell you, Albrecht. I think actually we will have some nice surprises by the team of Extreme Addict and Giorgio Primo. I can feel it. Like I mean, like those guys, not so secretive about their benching, but they you can see there's some kind of there's a thing going on there.
Yeah.
And then after that, you know, I'm French, so yes, I'm going to support the French team.
Yeah,
no
why
matter
not?
what.
You little chauvinist pig.
Yeah, well, that's it, you know.
Yeah,
And
but
I don't know. What about you? Which team do you see winning?
I'm very good friends with Roman. We spent like a few Computexes together, did a few Gigabyte events as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he also makes like great CPU and GPU pods. He's like an engineering wizard, not on the electronical side only, but also in creating new gear. And we already had, like in the beginning, Vince Kingpin with his good cooling gear, but the issue for most Europeans was that the shipping costs.
Shipping is expensive.
The shipping is insane, and yeah, and a lot of people now are using their Bauer gear. There was also Reba before, which then moved with Petri to EK water blocks,
yes,
which are now creating also LN2 equipment. But yeah, Roman and he was a bit unlucky at Computex, like I said. We talked before about the SSD corruption thing.
Yep.
And he was a bit unlucky there that G-Skill didn't like provide like a backup SSD, and that could have like totally changed the outcome. And maybe it was him fighting Splave.
You know, sometimes in things like that, it's always easier to blame the hardware, or blame whoever else than yourself. I think in competitions there's always this part of, well, you know, that's the competition.
Yeah.
Things go wrong, and well, you're in charge in the competition. You're in charge to figure out what is going wrong, and you're in charge of making sure you're not breaking anything, so you can actually compete. So either stay safe or take risks. This is yours to decide.
Indeed, it is.
So looking at the chat, yes, there's some people asking if we are French. Well, I'm French, but Albrecht is from Belgium and from the Dutch side. But
from the dark side, Dutch side.
You do understand a bit of French.
Yeah, I can help myself. I don't have like the massive vocabulary thing, but yeah, I make my mistakes, but I think most of the people can understand me.
Yeah. All right. So, guys on the Twitch chat, if you have any questions about the competition, just feel free to let us know. Just basically ask us the question. We'll try to reply to you as soon as we see the question popping up. If not, we have a few Q&A sessions, so we'll just write down the question and we'll go to that, back to that a bit later on, how it goes. So right now, in terms of SSDs, there's no SSD broken in this competition.
Not yet. There's
the only issue was the OS issue.
The OS issue, and there, of course, they make like ghost images of one OS, and they're just like put on each SSD. So, yeah, maybe.
Say if the OS has a problem, then all of them.
All of them have the same issue, and it has been shown that indeed everybody was automatically either switching to Windows 8 or just was trying to swap hardware because Windows 7 didn't properly boot.
Well,
so
yeah, that's
of course, if you have never benched Windows 8,
that might be actually a problem, right?
That might be actually a problem with the Metro and the stuff. And even if it crashes, sometimes it shuts down by itself and stuff like that.
And even the blue screens are totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, like they have this little smiley thing, like.
Yeah.
I still can't get used to that one. Actually, to be honest.
I'm also not like a Windows 8 lover, but sometimes, yeah, to get the better benchmark or the better scores, you need to make a switch.
Yeah. In terms of entrance fee, actually, if you guys are around in Moscow, right? It's very possible, actually.
Just pop in, man.
Just come in. We are at the Moscow Cyber Stadium. It's actually a place that is free to enter. It is like a huge cyber coffee kind of area. They have a huge stage behind, which is usually used for gaming competitions, but we're using the arena place in front where usually people can sit to watch the games, and that's where we have the competition. So you can actually sit around. We have couches. There's a bar serving drinks and drinks, coffees, and snacks. So if you're around in Moscow, just please come along. That's the best thing you can do, I think. Today, it's the weekend. Come on.
It's the weekend. Come
just
on, man.
Come over.
I know there are like a lot of traffic jams in Moscow city, but we experienced them themselves yesterday and the day before. But yeah, it's and I've seen this is one of the best venues I have seen till now.
Yes. I mean, we've been to many international events like that one. And most of the time, for OC events, it's either one or the other, right? It's either you go private, so something very simple, or sometimes very big but private. So there's no public allowed. There's a press invited, of course, but the public cannot walk in and have a look. So it's really hard, for example, for overclockers to invite, I don't know, family, friends, supporters. You know, like, I mean, some guys have fan clubs that might actually make the trip to come by.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, so it's like this.
Yeah, come on, cheer on the Russian team, guys.
But yeah, I think yes, the Russian guys here in Moscow should come by.
They should drop over,
Definitely.
just to give them some mental boost and.
Yeah. So in some of those events are like a lot more public, like this one, for example, or the AOC last year, which was on a gaming show. It's like it really depends of the organizer. What kind of exposure they're looking for that type of event. Is it an event that is exclusively focused on getting R&D information, or feedback on the hardware on the board and really testing it, or generating scores for a PR purpose, for example, like breaking records and things like that? Or is it like a demo thing to show how good your hardware is to the public, to those that actually buy your product, or actually buy not necessarily a high-end product, but just buy lower end, and then inspire the same way. I don't know, you would go buy like a car that looks a lot like a very high-end car that is very similar.
Yeah,
just
people are influenced.
Dream one day I will buy this ultimate board.
And we can tell you guys, if this survives, all the gear behind it survives on LN2, it will survive on daily air as well.
For many years to come.
It's the ultra durability test. It's not the right vendor to make that statement, but those that know, this is like the extreme test for all hardware.
Yeah. Questions on the chat. Is Extreme Addict from extremesystems.org? There's no relationships whatsoever between both, I think. I think Extreme Addict, yes, he used to be user there, so it's the same nickname on the forum, but I don't think the name comes from there, right?
Charles Wordfugger, who is in fact running Extreme Systems.
Yeah, so it's a different guy.
It's a Las Vegas guy, not from Poland.
Yes, And other questions, don't give Extreme Addict some beer. No, we are not going to do that. There's actually no alcohol allowed in the venue. There's a bar which serves some alcohol, but there's not alcohol allowed in the battlefield or anything, so I don't think there's going to be any drinking today.
He probably will catch up tonight.
Yes, I mean, like, I'd rather have it this way, we have cold water, everything is fine, So what's going on right now? Right now is the Cinematch round. There's still an hour and 29 minutes into the round, which is because there has been 1 hour added to the competitions, like we already said. This is because there has been some OS issues on some of the SSDs that were installed for the competition, which means some guys lost time trying to debug or trying to understand what was wrong, and by the time they realized it was the SSD and the OS, well, especially the OS on the SSD that had some issues, and because all the SSDs were exactly flashed with the reinstalled with the same ghost image, so all of the SSD had the problem. So the judges decided to use only Windows 8, 8.1 actually, if I'm correct. It should be 8.1.
I'm not sure. I thought it was Windows 8 at a certain moment.
Just 8? Okay, well, I don't know. Not so sure. Anyhow, this implies a lot of different changes for the competition, especially with the fact that the judges have to check the reboot frequency of the system. So it means you submit a score, you show it to the judge, he's checking that it's all right, and then you have to reboot. Decided like this. So this is how it goes. So the schedule you can see right now changed slightly bit. You have until 2:30 p.m. local time, so still 1 hour and a half to submit for Cinebench. But at the same time, at 11:30, there's no problem about that. Actually, all the 3D benchmarks started as well at the same time.
But
so
they want to maximize the Cinebench score. Because
and actually, I think, it's pretty cool because before you had 3 hours until you could submit something between Cinebench and the 3D Mark 11 performance stage. So I think it's actually pretty good, because like this it will make things a bit more interesting in terms of competition pressure and timing, making all the stages slightly more equal in time you spend on each of them.
So indeed, it's like we said, it's like 30 valuable points if you can snatch that first spot at Cinebench.
That's right. So in total, yes, there's still 5, 6, 7 hours for the 3D Mark stages, all of them, and then there's 3 hours for Cinebench. So that's what is going on right now. Overclockers have started submitting a few scores. It's a CT time. I'm not too sure about the times. We are GMT plus 4. GMT plus 4. Yeah, or UTC plus 3 actually. Those time zones are really confusing. But yes, UTC plus 3 is the time right here, right now. So this is that's the schedule. We have to just add 1 more hour for Cinebench.
It adds more complexity to all this thing.
Yes.
So we still see the German team in the lead with 21-14 at the moment.
Not many changes. Everyone is still like probably benching and tweaking and finding out what's the best.
And the thing that I'm seeing, sorry for the interruption, Timo, is that like Wizardry is like slowly shifting up. So it seems that maybe their CPU has issues even at 5.3.
Okay.
So they're just increasing like with 10 megahertz. Okay, they did like a big score increase, in fact, of almost 15 points, but it's not a good sign for the Wizardry team. I think if they're already not directly submitting a 5.3 gigahertz CPU speed, it's going to be a rough ride, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not really easy, to. When you have the hardware you get, and sometimes that's just the way you have to go. I'm trying to scroll up on the OC Esports page. I wanted to show you the submission page actually to explain to you how the process is, but I think I need to restart my browser. I have some weird lags actually here. So meanwhile I'm doing that, actually what we can do is that we had a small video prepared where the guys were explaining to us what were their strategy and what were the challenges they were seeing as part of this competition. So that's a challenge thing. Yeah, so we have a few minutes before we switch to that video, and in this video the guys were explaining to us what they think is going to be, the things they're gonna pay attention to, what is going to be hard, maybe even what team is going to be watched, who are you going to be making sure that you're not leaving them too much,
Yeah, I think especially team 1 and 2 are like, if you look at the rankings, they're like the ones that people are like closely monitoring what is going on, what are they doing, how high can they go, and of course it's the advantage for us is we can see all the frequencies, the competitors can't. But yeah, I still think if they can get like a score close to maybe the bench bros, that they might be satisfied. With Team Germany, the German Panzer team, Team 2. So it could be that if they just
I love that name,
near close, or maybe just beat it with 1 little point, and they say, okay, it's time to shift to 3D now fully. But it's still, I think everybody is still exploring how this particular CPU or one of the two they have, how it works and how it reacts to cold. Does it like more voltage? Does it scale anyhow, or are we just hitting like a solid wall?
That's right. All right, so let's have a look at that video, and we will be back right after that.
Yeah, first we will select CPUs with VID. So hopefully we can find the best one for the first tests, and just cool down the system, find a cold bug, and then we will see what happens. So of course we need to test both CPUs and find the best one, and also to use for the 3D marks, and and of course some small tweaks like retime or something, but I don't think there are so many tweaks for Cinebench. It's much CPU clock dependent, so the best CPU will win the stage, I think.
At first we're gonna test the CPU, especially the VID and how it clocks on air. Then we will bench Cinebench, that's for sure, and after that we can bench all the 3D benches after it. And my personal strategy would be, because it's the hardest 3D bench, it's 3D Mark 11, just get the 980 streaks through 3D 11, and after that bench all the other Fire Strike Extreme and Fire Strike P. Yeah.
I didn't rebench the last benchmark with after the mark a bit of Cinebench, but I will see. We will see quickly, but I really don't know.
Legacy tweaks, like everyone, like load and priority, things like that. But I think every contestant will use it, so it's not secret tweak. It's things everyone uses.
About Cinebench, we will try to test both of the processors in order to find the best one, and then we will try to insulate both cards ASAP in order to test again both of them. and find the best card out of two.
Okay. With Cinebench, it's mainly core speed of the CPU, so obviously we'll try and max that out first, then look at pushing cache and memory for the extra few percent. With these CPUs you get quite a lot of variation of how they like to be benched. Some can run high clocks all day, others that if they crash you need to heat up and then pull back down and heat up and pull back down almost every single time that they crash. So we'll need to figure out the best strategy for our particular CPU, push core, then push cache, then push memory to get the best out of the Cinebench. In the 3D benchmarks, because it's single card, the main focus actually is on the GPU. Even 3D Mark 11, if you can get like 5.3 to 5.5 on the CPU, that's enough, then you focus on the GPU. So on those benchmarks, we'll maybe clock down the CPU to give us extra stability of the system to be able to max out the GPU first. Then when we want the last few percent of each 3D benchmark, we may well then try and push the CPU also. But it's the important thing with the 2D, obviously max out the CPU core, then cache, then memory. Then on the 3D benchmarks, a good enough CPU clock of 5.3 to 5.5 is fine, and then just concentrate on pushing the card till you've maxed out the card completely on all three benchmarks. Then look at card plus system if you've got time to get that extra efficiency, and also apply any tweaks that you know.
And welcome back, guys. We are still here at the ASUS AOOC 2014 Europe Finals, and I'm Tim, and I'm here with Albrecht.
Yes.
What's up?
Not really much. People are really struggling to get past 5.3 at the moment. So
so we had a little walk around during the break to see what was going on.
What they were doing, and some people like Bench Bros, so the German team, and indeed they're having like much issues with cold boot bug, and indeed that's one of the things that this platform has. You can bench at a certain temperature, the benchmark stops, and temperatures go way up, and it just freezes. And apparently their board doesn't have. There's like a slow mode switch on. So in fact, the setup thinks it's overheating, so it goes on a lower multiplier, and then it normally allows you to take the screenshot, but apparently on their board the button doesn't do anything.
Oh, okay. So that might be a problem.
That's a big problem. So each time they have like a score which is improving, but they can't validate it.
Yeah, no time to screenshot or no. Yeah.
No, it just freezes or goes down, and then of course, and I think I already talked with the other teams, and they're like looking at the screen board themselves, or the scoreboard, sorry, and they're saying like, that will be like a tough score to beat, especially with the CPU that we're running at the moment.
So so talking about scores, before we go through the scores, guys, I wanted to show you exactly how you guys at home can also follow the competition, access the scores, the screenshots, and know about the frequency. So on my display here on the side, I can actually show you the OC Esports website and the competition page. So I'm adding the link into the chat right now, and so on my screen, like you can see, this is the competition page. So you have the teams here, and you have also the stream of on Twitch and the rankings below. So here you can know exactly overall how much each team scored in each stage, plus the total of their points. So as you can see, no one right now submitted anything in stage 2, 3 and 4, which are all 3D stages, as we said earlier. If you want to follow with us the scores as we review the scores, you just have to scroll up, and here you have a tab which is called submissions. So if you click on that one, you will go to the submission page, and here you have by chronological order all the submissions that have been made in this competition. So right now it's only Cinebench submissions, so there's no need to filter at the top, but if you wanted to, you can actually filter the scores here, which makes it a little bit more digestible to read and scroll through. So as you can see, everyone is benching the same CPUs. You can read quickly the frequency on that column here, and the team named, the overclockers competing, and the benchmark if there's different benchmarks being submitted. If you expand with that little button on the right here, you can actually see the detailed submission for the overclocker. So you have a bit more information. You have more details about the CPU frequency and how much percentage overclock this represents from the stock frequency. Here in terms of graphics cards, for example, the first number, this is the GPU frequency, and the second one is GPU memory frequency. So this way you guys can have an idea of how the graphics card is overclocked. Usually overclockers give you scores, they just give you like a GPU/GPU memory frequencies, and they usually don't specify anything else. You will also have here, let's say, stock, because right now nothing is overclocked. It's all 2D, but once it will be overclocked, you will be able to know how much percentage OC you've got on that one. Memory, of course, today we're benching with some versions LPX DDR4 memory from Corsair. We made a mistake, I think, earlier with saying it was Hynix chips on it. Apparently they got a revision.
There's like a new batch revision. Apparently these are Samsung, so that might explain
the different things from
why
what
we
you
see
experienced as
from
well,
the
right?
other review samples that we had like months ago with the launch.
Yeah, I remember those samples. Yeah.
So there's like apparently a huge difference, and at the moment everybody is like really focusing on the CPU clocks, and they say we have not enough time to real dial in the memory at the moment.
So power supply is Professional Series Gold. Today, the 2 days power supply is Corsair. What is exactly the?
I have to
1200 power, so 1200 watt.
Is it the 1200i? Yes.
Yes. So this is the guys are using 2 power supplies. There's one that is used for powering up the motherboard, and the other one is for the graphics card. This is pretty standard in terms of extreme competition. Usually the guys, if you're using only one graphics card, you could just do with one. But you know, it's better off having 2. You know, if you have to, why not using 2? If you would have 6 cylinders on your card, you would use 6 instead of 4, right?
Why not?
So that's it. So that's the page for the submission. I'm gonna share to you the link in the chat right now, so you can access the page directly. So now let's start a small tour of each team, because during the break we went around and asked the guys each some questions. So let's start with team number 1. So this is the team of 8pack and Roman Der Bauer.
Yeah. So at the moment, fighting the setup. They're not like really enjoying it, so only getting like 5,125 megahertz properly done, and from the best CPU. And then at a certain moment they were like even hesitating, should we submit this score, yes or no? And Roman said, yeah, okay, it's a better score than that we have right now. Any point is valuable in the end.
Yes.
So we just go for it,
right?
and just after I left, they did a slightly better one. So yeah, okay, they're climbing up the rankings. It's not where they want to be, but okay, that's give and take. Probably they can make up for the 3D at the 3D stages and get some good efficiency done there. So
yeah, so we're gonna bring up the team number 1 on the screen in a few seconds. You can see team number 1 right now. They're discussing together. Probably okay. Yeah, that 5,000 megahertz wall they are facing is not. Well, it's a problem, I suppose, for them to climb up the competition. If we look at actually even the overall ranking, their submissions right now being stuck at this wall, like it's not going to be that awesome for them.
No,
like, I mean, they're 7th. It's only 18 points. This is a big disadvantage compared to the other competitors that actually can clock a little bit higher, just 5,200, 5,300 like even.
Very, very competitive, in fact, between Smoke.
Yes.
So the Russian team and their team, because they are running like
approximately
similar
right?
frequencies, and we see the rest for the other platforms, which are like between 5,250 and 3,355. We are seeing now with the German team. So those guys are slightly boosting, and hopefully they can reach like 5.4 and validate a score there. But it seems like the platforms we're seeing today, the CPUs are limited to probably 5.5 gigahertz or less.
That's right. So right now, if you can see on that display, right, you can see the guys that are actually, so they have Cinebench open. They are not running the benchmark right now, so they're still tweaking a few things. They have the ASUS utility open, in which they can adjust a few of the settings to overclock and try to troubleshoot and get a higher. Right?
The thing they're looking for now is to get the right starting temperature. Because usually if you're pumping a lot of voltages in this, you can get like minus 120, then start, and then bam, the degrees go like insanely down.
Yeah.
It all depends, of course, on your mount. So they set a new score, and they're just looking, okay, going to validate yes or no. I can't read it.
It seems like I think they're going to go for the screenshot
so
right
it's
now. So it
an
means
improvement than the score they had.
Is it better than what they had? Yes, of course, you know, like this is always the case. Now is the critical time where you don't want your system to freeze. You're going to be about to, you know, like put up your stuff and make sure it's not making any problem. So we're going to see the submission popping up in a few minutes. The time they do the screenshot, the judge has to, of course, validate on the system, you know, and check to make sure everything is fine. Give it to Massman from HDI, but is going to add it to the submission engine of the competition, so we can see the screenshots as well as the score, right? So that's it. So I guess those guys, they have, of course, to be careful with the cold bug issues that I guess everybody here.
Yeah, you were seeing that they were not running like insanely low temperatures, so not the things that we're used to on Ivy Bridge.
You don't go full pot, right?
Yeah, on some CPUs you could really go full pot, and on some, let's say the lesser ones, it was still minus 150, and here we are seeing like a lot of between 90 degrees and minus 130.
Yeah.
And I saw their last thing just after Cinebench dropped, and they were like at minus 108, so they can't go that cold as they want to, of course.
That's it.
The colder you can go normally, and if the CPU scales, the slightly higher frequency you can achieve.
So it seems now the score is saved, and they are opening the utility again, which means, okay, trying to push up the numbers slightly bit. If what they did before worked, They should keep on going this way and keep on going until they hit another wall, and then from then on try to reduce slightly bit and tweak something else.
It's always a balance you have to find between the different voltages. Some CPUs like higher voltage there or a higher cache voltage, and could be that each CPU is like completely different or completely different than the ones that like they practiced on or something and said. And it's good to see that it's a team, and that's what's fun about this competition. It's not a solo bench, so you're like two guys thinking, and okay, in the beginning
you have to work together, you know, like you have to listen. Like a lot of people cannot work in a team. Like they don't listen.
Solo, they're like in their little island, in their little cocoon, and just not getting any of the inputs. And at a certain moment, okay, something is falling down. So yeah, it's really a teamwork, and you have to get acquainted to one another so that you can also think what is going on.
Yeah. Right, like so as you can see the sliders on the screen. Clicking on the right side of the slider is always a good thing because it means they're pushing up.
Yeah.
So yeah, for now,
I think they're probably like testing max frequency, do the reboot, boot with a proper base clock, but they're not allowed to adjust it in Windows.
Yeah. As you can see, very careful on the temperature. Not pouring too fast, just pouring a little bit. You see how fast he removes his hand here.
And you're seeing
this is exactly what you have to do. Keep an eye on your thermometer. This is the yellow thing you can see right there. And always having an eye on it as you pour. You don't pour and look at the thermometer after. This is probably already too late. So you have to wait. And the way it works as a team right now is 8pack has control over the mouse. So he is saying to Roman when he should pour or not. Roman keeps an eye on it, but 8pack is telling him, okay, I'm gonna click and start the benchmark now. Indeed. So now you can go a bit more and. You know.
Yeah, it's like you have to be like I said, you get acquainted, and also Roman knows, of course, his CPU pod. He knows how everything handles and how everything works, and I really think they're just testing base clock now, and what's the real limit of our CPU, and then just boot into Windows, because normally I think all the CPUs can boot into Windows at 5.2 easily, and then just run, and hopefully they get like a better score than they have having right now. Because I think both are like disappointed at the moment.
Well, yeah, if you look at them looking up, actually they are looking up at the round score. So if you go on the OC Esports side, actually this is the ranking you get if you go on the top navigation bar and you have stages in the menus. And up here you can just select, for example, stage 1, which is the stage we are doing right now. And here you have actually the ranking of that stage and the highest latest submission by each team. So they are just looking at that to see how good or where about they are in the rankings, to have an idea of where the competition is and what they have to do to get the extra ranking to go up a few more points.
And you see like the three last submissions, so position 6th, 7th, and 8th. They're all like running around the same frequency. So it's all about how good can you dial it in and what's the little extra, because they're really close in scores as well. So it's like only 13 points dividing them, but it's almost 4 points difference, which can mean a big asset in the end if you have to calculate all the points.
Yeah, so you can see it's going quick. You have to reload your thermal flask.
But you see it's still fun, eh? Roman is still laughing even if it's ain't going that well. Yeah, it's something that you have to accept at a certain moment.
But that's where you see the guys that have experience and that are capable of managing stress while still smiling and having fun, enjoying the stress. Maybe some guys
it's always nice to get invited to like a country like Russia, or it doesn't matter where it is. If you're like abroad and you can hook up with all the guys and have just the normal chit chat about hardware and daily life, it's fun.
Yeah, so as you can see, very small drops again. So now let's move on to the second team, so team number 2. This one is the team of Dancup and Bench Bros, and those guys, I have to say, they seem to be in a much better position.
Yeah, really comfortable position.
Probably better, a lot better CPU to begin with.
There's big news there from Wizardy, so almost matching the clocks of team 2, so this might become interesting, in fact.
All right, so we go back to that when we go just after that. So let's finish Dancup's team. So those guys, as you can see, they're like very relaxed. They don't seem to be that much into the stress. Dancup is always focused like this, so don't take it too seriously. Don't worry, that's his style. A very serious person. The Bench Bros. So also same, like very relaxed. You can see he's the king of the
temp control.
You can see in one hand it has the fire, and the other one he has the frost.
Because that's the thing they have to do. They have like the cold bug issue, so they can cool it down. And they said we need like these low temperatures to get as high in frequency. But as soon as the benchmark stops,
you have to
be quick with the torch and just pop it in, and hopefully you can validate.
Yeah, so we are using torch because it's actually much faster to heat up than heat guns.
Yeah.
Heat guns are very strong but really slow to start to really heat up and go up to heat. So the torches are the best to torch the pot, heat up the copper as fast as you can, and
Till the moment they're running like the highest frequency, 5,355 megahertz, but Wizardry is catching up, so they're only like 20 megahertz behind. And just going to open the screenshot of Wizardry, just see where the difference is between the two setups.
Yeah. So as you can see, rebooting into the BIOS, you have this little habit of pressing delete.
Delete or F2, yeah.
Delete or F2 as fast as you can. Those are probably usually on overclocker keyboards, the two the two keys that are used the most on the keyboard with the actually arrow keys, I suppose. So they're rebooting now. It means they're going probably to go back to Windows and try to rerun the benchmark again to see if they can improve their score. So always a bit critical at that point. You never know if it's going to work, but it's fine. It's posted. Right, Windows loading screen. A little bit of Coca-Cola, of course.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So we can see a clear shot of the power supply. So it's a 1200i. It's confirmed now.
So you can see Bench Bros is also looking around his pot to make sure there's no condensation anywhere. Everything is nice and dry around it. Of course, in a competition like this, where time is the constraint, you don't want to have to unmount. If you're capable of running as long as you can without unmounting your pot, that is critical. You don't want to waste time on something like this. So you'd rather spend the extra 15 minutes at the start making it proper than actually wasting time on stuff like this. Okay, so I guess that's it for now. As you can see, they're running the benchmark. So
and it froze again.
And it froze. So it froze. So it means no, it didn't. So it froze. So it just seems to be that only Cinebench froze. End of process.
So they're on the edge. They're on the edge. Maybe they can make it successful if they're just a little bit colder, maybe a little bit voltage. It all depends.
Okay,
so
running again. Is it going to stop at the same moment?
No, it's a bit further,
so
it's going on.
Further. Okay, the benchmark is going to be probably finished. It should be alright. So as you can see, it's running on all the 8x2 cores, right?
So 16 hyper-threaded cores.
16 threads at the same time. That's all the little squares you can see on the Cinebench loading screen.
To look good. So you see, he's running the torch now just to heat up things, so they can validate the score. They're calling a judge now.
Yeah. Come over here. Yeah. We've got to show you this. The judge is coming to make sure it's a legit validation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So SF3D is there.
Looking at the scores, looking if the mouse is moving, everything is alright. You see, he's moving the window. Okay. Open CPU Z. So here you need to open in CPU Z. That's where you have the proof of the frequencies you're running at, in terms of memory, CPU, everything. So you open the CPU tab in the CPU Z, you open the memory tab, the SPD tab.
Yeah, and I think the mainboard tab is also mandatory this time, of course. You have to show off the ASUS hardware.
So as you can see, it's all being checked attentively by the jury.
Looks good. At the moment, everybody is still relaxed. Everything is working.
Seems to be able to save the screenshot.
Yeah, they're not like weird gestures. Its system froze again. Oh God, no. So.
All right, USB is out, and
just
USB in it. All right, saving the scores to the USB.
But I think they're like within safe operating temperatures. Andy is like really relaxed. It's not like stressing too much. Just keeping it probably at minus 100 or something, and not.
As soon as you know exactly where is your critical cold point, just stay around that. Yeah. Manage it well, no problem.
You can quickly discover it, in fact. But it's so annoying indeed that you can do like a run at minus 130 and then you have to warm it up to minus 115 just to validate the score.
Yeah, that's it.
That's very frustrating at sometimes. So we just see after Lord Massman has typed in the score,
Yeah.
what the new target to beat will be, and hopefully Wizardy can come closer for those that are supporting for Team 3. Sorry.
Yeah, if we look at Wizardy, those guys are not very far from each other.
No.
Wizardy's and Terroraptor's latest submission is a 2121.
There's a new king in town, I think.
There's a new kid in town. Who is
John
the new
White.
kid? John
Almost.
White.
Look at them. 5,375 megahertz.
So that's 2135
Fine.
points. It's not bad at all, actually.
It's not that far away. So they have the
It's
maybe
nearly 80% overclock.
yeah, they're getting there. They're getting there. So can you imagine the guys qualified via the Pentium stage, almost didn't touch X99, and now they're like playing with the big boys. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, almost 4249.
Yeah, so they're like boosting the encore, not doing that much with memory.
Now memories is still pretty, I would say not relaxed, but pretty relaxed. So I guess, like you were saying before, the guys are still operating into safe timing zones. They're not trying too much on the memory. For now, it's all about figuring out how much can the CPU take.
But it could be a cool running 5.4 CPU during the 3D stages. So
that's right.
We'll see what gives.
Okay. So let's move now to the to Wizardy team. So they are not too far, right?
Yeah,
team number 3. So those guys, French guy, Wizardy, and Terroraptor from Kazakhstan. So those guys are doing pretty okay, actually. If we think in terms of,
I think all the French is expected Wizardy to do well. Otherwise, he will no longer be allowed to enter the country if he fails. I know the French guys are really rough, and
that's the new policy, right?
The new policy, it should be normal.
So actually, if you look at the ranking, Dan Cup and Bench Rose, they are second. John White, Matt Rose are actually first, and Wizardy and Terroraptor are third. So the French guys are not doing bad at all in this competition. Well, the French/Kazakh combo is actually the winning combo for now. I mean, if you would have to sum up their points, they would be totally leading it.
Yeah. So really good score there by John White. 2160 now. So going up, boosting. So they have like amazing CPU going.
Yeah. That's
so very interesting to see those guys clocking up.
So answering the question of Smash 90 reason for using Windows 8 or 8.0, which is exactly your question? Is it a question of the version?
Yeah.
The Windows question 8 or 7, the question is because they had some issues with the OSs, the Windows 7 OS that were provided to the overclockers, so they could not use it at all.
Yeah.
So the rules have been changed that the guys have actually to use
Windows 8 for every benchmark.
Yes.
In fact, they didn't have any option. If you can't get Windows 7 to properly boot, even on stock settings,
it's
something
not possible.
is wrong.
And even if one team was able to boot, there was actually more than one team that had problems with the OS. So in that case, the judges take a very quick decisions. You just drop this OS and only Windows 8. So that's
also why you need, like most of the times, like a good judging team as well.
Yeah,
somebody
capable of taking decisions
that just could take decisions. And this time, like Slams, he's like in the organization as well. But they take like on the spot decisions and to make it fair for everybody. And that's the thing you have to do.
Yeah.
Overclocking is always expect the unexpected. That's how it is.
Yeah.
You can plan it at home and you come here and it turns out totally different.
Oh yeah. So D1 List, you're asking, could you explain how the hardware compounds for the contest was chosen? I suppose you're talking about the components and what specific for overclocking. So so hardware for this competition, we are using the ASUS Rampage 5 Extreme. So this is the latest X99 top-end board from ASUS. This is a board, of course, designed with overclocking in mind. The Rampage boards are actually ultimate kind of boards that are designed for overclocking and very high-end gaming kind of thing, like kind of a luxury kind of
I always
thing, right?
questioned why they were called ROG, because they were like...
There's more for overclocking than for gaming,
is
gamers,
that
what you mean?
Yeah. They're feature packed, of course, for the gamers, high-end quality sound cards and all that stuff, and also the gamers know that the reliability is there, and the component choices is like ultra high-end, but Yeah, it's still.
Yeah, for what we are doing with it, it's especially overclocking. In terms of graphics card, the graphics card for today is ASUS Strix GTX 90. So this is of course the latest high-end Strix graphics card that is available on the market. Everyone is getting 2 motherboards and 2 graphics cards, as well as 2 CPUs, which are Core i7 5960X. So of course everything is X99. In terms of memory, Corsair Vengeance LPX 16 gigs 2800, and then SSD, of course, again SSD from Corsair 250 gigs, which is more than enough anyway for what we are doing. Power supply Corsair AX 1200i, which is the best you can get, I guess, for that kind of work. Every team gets 2, so they can distribute the power between their power supply and between the motherboard and the graphics card, which is totally recommended anyway. And OS scratch that Windows 7, it's gone, so it's Windows 8.1 64 bits. In terms of OC feature of the ASUS Rampage 5, what do we have that is really specific in terms of helping out the guys to
I think
OC?
The overclock socket. So ASUS did like a premiere, in fact, for X99, while all the other vendors stayed like with this standard stock Intel design. ASUS just added like some extra pins, and due to that fact, they're claiming that they can run the higher current and the higher voltage more stable. But the most important thing is that they can run the Encore, the Norwich frequency speed, which we talked about earlier, that they can run it like way higher than the other boards, and that gives them like clock per clock. If you can run the high Encore, of course the benchmark has to scale with it, with the higher Encore, but if you can run it way higher, you're getting a far better score. It's as simple as it is. And also the retry button is an interesting feature, because sometimes you set like memory settings and the board just stops at a certain postcode, and you can press reset 10,000 times, but the retry button just tries everything again, and usually it works straight after. And that's like it's one of those things that Peter Tan or Elmore or I don't know who the idea is behind some of the new features they have on the Rampage 5 Extreme, but those are always the little extras that usually ASUS boards have straight on board.
So yeah, that's why those boards are used in that competition. Best board you can get for doing that kind of practice.
Yeah, for I think for X99 at the moment, if you look at all the combination of possible things, that the ASUS has more to offer. One of the reasons probably that Gigabyte is also counteracting the Rampage 5 Extreme with a new LN2 version of their SOC Force 99, so which also has like the improved socket design, which also should allow higher Encore to get the efficiency way up. Nevertheless, it all depends on, like I said, on the benchmark, Timothy. So on some benchmarks, the Encore isn't that important. On others it is, so it's a bit give and take, of course.
All right, let's go back to our team. So let's stay on team number 3, because we actually didn't talk too much about them yet. So the latest submission is a 5332 megahertz submissions at 2121 points. So like we mentioned before, there was a nearly 4.5 on Encore, if I remember right. So I mean, it's pretty strong. It places this team in the 3rd position and on total on the actual rankings. So
and team 1 is getting there.
Yeah, it seems the Bauer 8-pack actually made a nice submission. So we have to go back in a few minutes to that submission. But talking about that team, I think it's pretty strong. It's getting there. I think it's going to be very interesting.
They're back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
They're coming back. They're not giving in. So they found a way to get like the more megahertz out of the CPU, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. So the question on the chat: OC stream using Mac? Well, my Mac is just a Mac for work. I just display the Twitch chat basically and extend my monitor. So no stream running on that PC actually. No worries. So let's move on to the next team, right? Since we are not too far, let's go to Alex at Row and Perika Barry.
Yeah.
So those guys actually are a little bit more discreet right now, since we pushed up the envelope of frequency overall in this competition. Their last submission actually dates way back. It's actually dates so way back that I don't see it anymore.
Yeah, they were like at a certain moment discussing what are we going to do? Are we still going to continue